Hey there, welcome to the North Florida VA Real Estate Podcast. I'm the assistant voice stepping in today while Darian is balancing real estate negotiations, registered nurse hospital shifts, and keeping up with 2 future karate black belts at home. Somewhere between contracts and clinic work, he's still trying to convince himself his golf swing only needs one small adjustment. Before we start today's mission, if these episodes have been helping you think differently about using your VA benefits, take a second to subscribe and download this episode for later. That simple step helps this information reach another service member who may still be trying to figure out where they should build their next chapter. Let's get into the strategy for today. Today we are talking about why so many veterans are choosing Florida as the place to execute what I call their final PCS move. This is not about vacation brochures or beach photos. This is about math, positioning, and long-term family stability after service. Imagine an Army Master Sergeant approaching retirement after more than 2 decades of deployments, training cycles, and PCS moves. On paper, everything looks strong. Retirement pay is coming. Disability compensation is established. The mission is complete. But when that same service member begins comparing what life actually costs in different states, the reality becomes very clear very quickly. State income taxes reduce retirement income. Property taxes create long-term pressure on fixed budgets. Licensing barriers slow career transitions. Travel costs make family memories harder to create. Then that same service member compares those numbers to Florida. Suddenly, retirement income stretches further. Property tax burdens can drop dramatically, especially for 100% service-connected disabled veterans. Access to military infrastructure improves daily life, and relocation becomes less about escape and more about strategic positioning for the next phase of life. That is what today's episode is really about. Let's take that retirement comparison one step further, because this decision becomes much clearer when you look at real numbers instead of assumptions. Picture a senior enlisted service member sitting at the kitchen table during that final year before transition. Retirement pay is projected. VA disability compensation is confirmed. The household income looks stable. But the next question is not how much money is coming in. The next question is how much of that money stays in the family, instead of leaving through taxes and cost of living pressure. In many states across the Northeast and parts of the Midwest, retirement income is still partially taxed. Property taxes continue increasing regardless of service history. Insurance costs can be unpredictable. And even everyday family activities begin to feel like budget decisions instead of lifestyle choices. This is what I call benefit compression. You earned strong benefits through decades of service, but the environment around you reduces their impact. Florida changes that equation immediately. Florida has no state income tax on retirement income. That alone protects thousands of dollars every year for many transitioning service members. For veterans with a 100% service-connected disability rating, Florida also removes ad valorem property taxes on a primary residence. That single policy decision can change the structure of a household budget in a way that few other states can match. Instead of watching retirement income disappear into state tax systems, families keep more of what they earned. Instead of planning around property tax growth, families plan around stability. Instead of reacting to rising costs each year, families begin thinking about investment opportunities, education planning, and travel flexibility. This is why relocation to Florida should never be treated as a lifestyle gamble. It should be treated as a strategic move designed to protect the benefits you spent your entire military career earning. Another reason veterans consistently choose Florida has to do with something that becomes more important after service than many people expect. And that is predictability in housing costs. Housing stability is not just about finding a place to live. For military retirees living on retirement pay and disability compensation, that uncertainty can create long-term pressure. In many parts of the country, property taxes continue rising regardless of income changes after retirement. That stability creates flexibility. It allows veterans to travel more often. Veterans with a 100% service-connected disability rating receive a full exemption that affects every other financial decision in the household. Florida changes that equation in a very direct way. From ad valorem property taxes on their primary residence, that is not a temporary discount. That is a permanent structural advantage that improves long-term affordability in a way that compounds year after year. That stability creates flexibility. It allows veterans to travel more often. It allows families to invest earlier. It allows parents to support education goals for their children without carrying the same level of long-term housing uncertainty that exists in many other states. It also changes how quickly families can begin thinking about building additional assets. When your primary housing costs remain predictable, saving becomes easier. When saving becomes easier, investing becomes possible. Subtle financial visual, real estate documents, and a compass on a desk representing a strategic move. Subtle financial visual, real estate documents, and a compass on a desk representing a strategic move. And starts becoming part of a long-term wealth building strategy. That is why housing structure matters just as much as location when planning a final PCS move after military service. Now let's talk about something that doesn't show up clearly on most relocation checklists, but makes a huge difference once you arrive in Florida, and that is the strength of the veteran community infrastructure across Northeast Florida. Relocation works best when the environment already understands military families. Jacksonville is one of the largest military-connected cities in the country. That matters more than most people realize before they move. When a city already supports active duty service members, retirees, reservists, and veterans across multiple branches, the transition process becomes smoother and more predictable. You have Naval Air Station Jacksonville. You have Naval Station Mayport. You have Coast Guard Sector Jacksonville. You have VA clinics already positioned throughout the region. Commissaries, exchanges, and support networks are already built into daily life here. That means you are not starting over after service. You are repositioning inside an existing support structure. For many veterans, this reduces the invisible stress that comes with leaving active duty. Access to familiar systems helps maintain continuity during a time that already includes career change, housing decisions, school transitions, and financial planning adjustments. It also creates opportunity. Healthcare careers transfer well here. Logistics experience transfers well here. Healthcare careers transfer well here. Logistics experience transfers well here. Aviation maintenance backgrounds transfer well here. Security and infrastructure experience transfer well here. Instead of fighting licensing barriers or rebuilding credibility from scratch, many veterans discover that Northeast Florida allows them to continue building momentum. And momentum matters after transition. The goal is not just to relocate somewhere comfortable. The goal is to relocate somewhere that supports stability, opportunity, and long-term positioning for both the veteran and the entire family. Now, let's talk about something that many veteran families do not fully evaluate before relocation, and that is how Florida supports education pathways for both veterans and their dependents. Relocation decisions are rarely just about the service member, they are about the entire household. Florida provides several education advantages that can significantly change long-term financial outcomes for military families. One of the most important is the CW Bill Young Veteran Tuition Waiver, which allows qualified veterans and their dependents to access in-state tuition rates, regardless of how long they have lived in Florida. That alone can reduce college costs dramatically compared to relocating to a state where residency requirements take years to establish. For families of veterans with service-connected disabilities, additional opportunities may exist through the Children and Spouses of Deceased or Disabled Veterans Scholarship Program. This program can provide full tuition coverage at Florida public colleges and universities for qualifying dependents. When families understand how to activate these benefits early, relocation decisions begin to support long-term education planning instead of creating additional financial uncertainty. Education advantages like these are not always visible during the early relocation planning stage, but they become extremely important once children begin approaching college age. They also influence where families choose to purchase their homes. School district access matters. Commute patterns matter. Proximity to Florida's major public universities matters for your family's long-term education plan. And when relocation planning includes these education benefits from the beginning, families position themselves for outcomes that extend well beyond the first few years after transition. This is another example of why relocation to Florida should be approached as a strategy decision, rather than a simple change of scenery after military service. Now let's narrow our focus to Northeast Florida specifically, because choosing the right region inside the state is just as important as choosing the state itself. When veterans relocate to Florida, many initially look at the state as one large destination, but Florida is really a collection of distinct mission zones, and each county in the Jacksonville corridor supports a slightly different lifestyle strategy depending on what your family needs most. Duval County provides access to the largest employment base in Northeast Florida. This is where many veterans working in logistics, aviation support, healthcare systems, transportation infrastructure, and security operations find strong transition opportunities. Jacksonville's size creates incredible flexibility for transitioning veterans. It allows families to balance military familiarity with civilian career growth in the same geographic area. Clay County offers something different. Many veteran families choose Clay because it provides more space, lower population density, and strong community stability, while still maintaining easy access to Naval Air Station Jacksonville. For families looking for a quieter environment without losing proximity to military infrastructure, Clay County becomes a natural fit. St. Johns County is often selected by families prioritizing school performance and long-term property value positioning. This corridor continues to attract families planning several years ahead instead of only focusing on the first year after relocation. Education access and structured community planning make this county especially attractive for households with school-aged children. Nassau County offers yet another relocation advantage. Located along the northern coastal corridor, it provides access to waterfront lifestyle options, while maintaining proximity to Jacksonville employment centers and military installations. For veterans seeking a balance between quiet coastal living and regional connectivity, Nassau County becomes an excellent positioning choice. Selecting the right county is not just a housing decision. It is a long-term strategy decision that shapes how your family experiences Florida after service. Once families begin identifying the right region inside Northeast Florida, the next strategic layer involves understanding how builder incentives and relocation timing can work together with VA eligibility to strengthen long-term positioning. Many veterans assume that using a VA loan simply means purchasing an existing home with zero down payment. While that is certainly one strong advantage, relocation timing can sometimes create additional opportunities when new construction inventory becomes available through builder incentive programs. Throughout Northeast Florida, large national builders periodically offer interest rate support, closing cost assistance, or upgrade credits tied to specific inventory homes. When these incentive windows align with a veteran's relocation timeline, families can sometimes secure monthly payment structures that are significantly more favorable than they expected when they first began planning their move. This does not happen in every market cycle, and it does not apply to every home. But it is one reason why relocation planning benefits from starting earlier rather than later. When families begin evaluating their options 6 to 12 months before their move, they gain the flexibility to monitor inventory changes, track builder incentives, and compare resale opportunities against new construction availability. That flexibility improves decision quality. It allows veterans to evaluate commute patterns, school access, neighborhood development timelines, and long-term appreciation potential before committing to a specific property. Instead of reacting to whatever inventory happens to exist during the final weeks before relocation, families begin choosing homes that support both their lifestyle and their financial strategy. This is another example of how relocation planning works best when it is treated as a positioning process, rather than a last-minute housing search after transition. Now let's talk directly about how the VA loan itself fits into this relocation strategy, because many veterans underestimate how powerful this benefit becomes when it is combined with Florida's tax structure. The VA loan is often described simply as a zero down payment mortgage option, but in reality, it is a positioning tool that allows veterans to preserve liquidity during one of the most important transitions of their lives. Relocation after service usually includes several moving pieces at the same time. Families may be adjusting to a new civilian career path. Children may be entering new school systems. Travel schedules may change. Household income timing can shift during the transition period. Preserving savings during this window becomes extremely important. The VA loan helps make that possible. Instead of using large down payments to secure housing, veterans can maintain access to their savings for relocation expenses, education planning, emergency reserves, or future investment opportunities. When this liquidity advantage is combined with Florida's absence of state income tax and the potential property tax exemption for 100% service-connected disabled veterans, the long-term financial structure becomes much stronger than many families initially expect. It also creates flexibility for future planning. Maintaining savings allows veterans to consider additional property purchases later in life using remaining VA entitlement. Some families eventually transition their first property into a rental while establishing a second primary residence closer to evolving career opportunities or family needs. This type of flexibility is difficult to create without preserving capital during the first relocation decision after service. Before making any relocation decision, it is important to talk honestly about the mistakes that can happen when families move too quickly or rely on incomplete information during the transition process. One of the most common issues veterans face is choosing a location based only on familiarity rather than long-term positioning. It is natural to consider returning to a hometown or moving closer to extended family immediately after service. Those decisions can make sense emotionally, but they do not always support long-term financial stability or career flexibility. Another mistake happens when families wait too long to begin relocation planning. When housing decisions are compressed into the final weeks before separation or retirement, options become limited. Inventory choices shrink, incentive opportunities disappear, commute patterns are not evaluated carefully. School district research becomes rushed instead of strategic. Relocation planning works best when families begin 6 to 12 months before their move window. That timeline allows veterans to compare counties, evaluate employment corridors, understand school access, and activate property tax exemptions correctly after closing. It also creates time to coordinate lender approvals and documentation related to VA eligibility, so there are no surprises during the purchase process. Another important step that many veterans overlook happens after they close on their home. Homestead exemption activation must be completed with the county property appraiser. Veterans with qualifying disability ratings must also submit their VA award documentation so the property tax exemption can be applied correctly. After that step is completed, the mortgage servicer should be notified so escrow payments can be adjusted to reflect the reduced tax obligation. These final steps are what convert relocation planning into real monthly financial improvement after transition. Relocating to Florida after military service is not simply about choosing a warmer climate or living closer to the coast. It is about placing your family in a position where the benefits you earned during your career continue working for you long after the uniform comes off. Florida's absence of state income tax protects retirement income. Property tax exemptions for qualifying disabled veterans reduce long-term housing pressure. Education advantages support children preparing for college. Military infrastructure across the Jacksonville region helps maintain continuity during transition, and strong employment corridors across Duval, Clay, St. Johns, and Nassau counties provide opportunities for veterans building their next chapter. When these advantages are evaluated together, relocation becomes more than a move. It becomes a strategy decision. Instead of allowing taxes and rising housing costs to slowly reduce the impact of the benefits you earned through service, Florida allows many veterans to stabilize their monthly expenses while improving long-term flexibility for travel, education planning, and future investment opportunities. This is why so many military families treat Northeast Florida as the location where their final PCS move becomes a permanent base of operations. If today's episode helped you think more clearly about how Florida relocation decisions affect your long-term strategy, make sure you download this episode so you can come back to it later. And if you know another veteran or military family planning a move, share this episode with them too. If you would like more information about relocating to Florida or using your VA benefits strategically, check the links in the bio. Thanks for being here today. And remember, everything you want is on the other side of fear. The Florida Veterans Real Estate Podcast is brought to you by Exit Inspired Real Estate. This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not affiliated with the Department of Veterans Affairs or any government agency. Always consult licensed professionals before making financial decisions. Equal housing opportunity.